Hello, everybody. I just realized my volume was down there. I am Louisa Eddington, the Cosmic Owl. You can see an owl behind me of Cosmic Owl Astrology, and I am a wisdom weaver who weaves numbers, tarot with the astrology and a lot of intuition. So before I start with the week ahead, a couple of things. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, leave me comments, watch the videos to the end or leave them running, or helps with algorithms and building this channel. And I really appreciate all the supportive comments I've been getting lately. And I was asked by a commenter to stop apologizing for supporting Kamala. Well, and she's right, but I don't apologize for supporting Kamala. I was kind of apologizing for going very political, but this is a crucial moment in history. And the astrology tells me that, whether you think she's perfect or not, nobody is. She is a shift that we are looking for. And I support her fully, and I will support her fully. And those that don't like that can, I'm okay with losing followers and subscribers because I think this is an important part in time in history, and it's important for anybody with a voice to say something and to support uh, the right direction, because it is the right direction. I can tell you, we're not going back. Just astrologically, we are moving in a progressive direction and moving back to reclaiming our rights. So there. Yeah, I'm not going to apologize that the tone of this channel may have changed a little. And let's move on to the week ahead. So anyway, the week ahead, we don't have a lot of major aspects again. Now, it is not going to be the easiest week. Where's my... Oh, bear with me. I can't find my astrology. Oh, that's because I minimized it to share the window. All right, so we start the week. Look, this is tomorrow morning, August the 4th. With the new moon, basically. The new moon is early tomorrow, always Eastern time. And I've done a lot of things on that, and I've talked about how it resonates with Venus retrograde from last year, where I talked about the rise of the feminine and women, the feminine archetype, let's say, because it is in men anyway. We're seeing the rise of probably, well, I think it will be, because I believe in setting intention as well. But as the astrology tells me, the first gentleman, we've never had a first gentleman before. We've had the first vice gentleman, but we've not had a first gentleman. So yeah, 7:13 a.m. Eastern, we begin with the new moon, but we won't really start to feel the push of the new moon until Tuesday night, when the moon reaches 30 degrees beyond the sun and the moon starts to gain light. So we're in the dark moon this weekend, tonight, and we're starting and setting intentions for where we want to go. So we start bang with a new moon this month, and I like it. It's a beautiful one. The major aspects happen around it, really, but they are to Jupiter and Mars over here. The moon activates them first. They both sextile, which is a supportive aspect. I think this is going to really drive things forward and drive this shift even more. So, you can go and watch my new moon video as well. I'll link to it in this if you want to know more about that. Then the only other big aspect we have on August the 4th, Sunday, August the 4th, is that Venus herself, she's here. She's actually here right at the degree she stationed retrograde at last July the 22nd. She's gone all around that zodiac now after that retrograde. but she moves into Virgo, and she moves into Virgo at 10:22 p.m. I, if I get time, I'm out all day Sunday and I've got a lot on. But I will do a video for Venus in Virgo. But I do want to say she will be in the sign of Virgo only until August 29th. And Venus in Virgo is very priestess-like. I was told by a follower of mine and a subscriber on Substack that I carry the energy of Avalon within me. And because I'm from Celtic stock, and I do believe I do. I'm not saying I'm a Celtic princess or an Avalon, but I've got the memory, the remembering of that energy within me. And I'm not going to go all woo and go, I'm like a Celtic priestess of Avalon, but I carry that in my remembering, in my memory. And so I feel Venus in Virgo. Venus in Virgo gets this bad rap in astrology again of being very virginal and very critical and things like that. But really, at its highest, it's the shamanic priestess energy, the one that's very connected with the sacred hoop, with the earth, and all that is. So I love Venus in Virgo. So we've got that as well. But then on to the 5th. So let's move on. So on the 5th, Venus is now in Virgo. You can see that. And Venus on the 5th will sextile Haumea over here, will quincunx Pluto here, and will square Sedna here. I'm not going to go into great detail with that, but every time a planet changes signs right now, they activate these big harbingers of change, these big messengers of change that are changing our entire paradigm. And so it's just another step in this big shift that we're going through. And you might feel the enormity of that every time a personal planet particularly changes signs and aspects all of these players. And next year, that's going to get even bigger as Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus all change signs as well. It's just intense. But the other big thing we have on August the 5th is Mercury. Mercury stations retrograde. Mercury stations retrograde at 12:56 a.m. So, just 56 minutes into August the 5th in Mercury's sign, Virgo. And then later that day at 5:16 p.m., the moon joins Venus and Mercury in Virgo. And that's a big shift. And this fixed star Regulus is at 1 degree, I think, at the moment, Virgo. Let me add Regulus in while I talk. Now, I think we have to, for these kind of reports, I would never, say that somebody had to add all these things into their charts when they're working with clients. But I think astrologers really have to start being aware of these bigger planetary shifts in case they're showing up generally if they do forecasting, but also, if a client has something at those parts. So Regulus moved into the sign of Virgo at the end of 2011, or rather, we moved from the star's perspective, and after over 2,000 years of Regulus in Leo, the royal star, we moved into the sign of the priestess. So now, as Mercury turns retrograde in the sign of Virgo, we have Venus, and then the moon comes up later in that day, and they're all going to speak to each other in Virgo. But just at a mundane level, this is also, moving towards the moon gaining light, but the moon's going to come to light in Virgo. So it's really time to think about service, meaning, that priestess energy, that real kind of holistic, whole unto herself energy, which is the Magdalene, and all those kind of energies, which are archetypes. It's this real divine feminine archetype of priestess that was lost under the patriarchy is moving back in. So that's a big shift on August the 5th. That's the biggest shift of the week. Now, I did do a whole Mercury video. I'll link to that one as well, but don't sweat Mercury retrograde. The kind of tech things are happening already. You know, we had a new fridge freezer, a new coffee maker, and my husband fixed the broken dishwasher, all in the shadow period. And shit happens like that. And there will be, you know, rethinking, revisiting. But the message of Mercury retrograde really is to revisit, rethink, redo, take a step back, slow down, and revisit a few things that may need changing. So, you know, I kind of really kind of gets itchy over this Mercury retrograde hype and fear, which has calmed down a bit, in my opinion. But I am going to post funny memes because I think we have a duty to laugh a little bit at what bedevils us. So yeah, so you expect the funny Mercury retrograde memes. So on to August the 6th, and you can see the moon has now moved in to the sign of Virgo. Mercury is now retrograde. The moon will meet Mercury, and Venus and Mercury are moving towards each other. But very late on August the 6th, Eastern time, the moon will reach that 30 degrees away from the sun and will really start to get to work the nuts and bolts, which is also Virgo, and the useful and meaningful work on what our intentions were under this lovely new moon. It's fabulous. But there are no major aspects on the 6th. So let's move on to the 7th, and we're already on Wednesday. And we have a couple of aspects on the 7th. At 9:36 a.m., the sun will sextile Jupiter. And that is a real push. That's expansive, creative push for your ideas. And I wouldn't worry that Mercury is station retrograde. You know, it's time to start just co-creating what you desire. Again, I don't believe in stopping living during any retrograde, to be honest. Just know that you may need to kind of tweak a few details here and there. You know, if you set something up and start to plan, you know, there may be something that comes up that you have to tweak a little bit. But anyway, late on the 7th, at 11:12 p.m., Mercury and Venus meet. Mercury and Venus will meet at 3 Virgo, and 3 is a lovely, you know, feminine number as well, and a very creative number. And this will give you these creative ideas of how you can be do something very useful and meaningful for the good of both yourself and all. And then on to the 8th. No major aspects again, but on the 8th, the moon finishes in Virgo and will move into Libra for a couple of days. And so that will be a little bit more social, a little bit more about justice, a little bit more about finding a little bit of balance after a push to really get down to the nuts and bolts. But Libra's also about like diplomacy and communicating with people. So just, you know, that vibe for just over 2 days. Then on to the 9th. Already on to Venus Day itself. And the moon, you can see, is still in Libra. And of course, I go into all of those, you know, nitty-gritty details for the paid subscribers on my Substack. But on the 9th, the only other big thing we have, other than the moon in Libra all day, is that partnership, sacred partnership of all partnerships, not just marriage. It's also the partnership within, okay, loving yourself, but it's loving women and children too. It's all about our partnership with everything. We are in partnership, this co-creative partnership. Juno moves into Libra too, and I will go into more detail about that on my Substack blog, because I don't normally look at asteroids here, but I did want to mention that because it's another energy shift. So, we're really moving this week into Virgo and then Libra energy for a while, but Virgo particularly. So on to the 10th, and it's really a quiet week aspect-wise, and I kind of want to give you a little bit of overview of what all of it means before we leave. So on the 10th, the only thing we have at 6:33 p.m. is that the moon will leave Libra and enter Scorpio. We'll end the week with a Scorpio moon, which is depth, deep emotion, deep feeling, but also deeply probing and investigative. And again, no major aspects. So, on Saturday the 10th, on to the early morning of the 11th, because I do like to kind of overlap a little bit. So on the 11th, we will start next week with the moon in Scorpio. You can see that. But we are heading towards a Venus trine to series. And I'll talk more about that next week. But this is quite significant in so many ways. And I'll probably write a whole thing about that as well. So, and next week we'll of course start as well with a first quarter moon. So we're kind of lined up this month, like bang start on a new moon, then first quarter moon, then full moon. But anyway, so overall, I just want to kind of give you a little bit of a vibe, and then we'll look at the cards. Even though there's not many major aspects with Mercury going retrograde, I think the cards will reflect kind of that kind of stalling a little bit and kind of some stinking thinking coming up, because Mercury in Virgo, the shadow of Virgo with Venus moving in as well, and then the moon moving in as well all together, is that criticism and the inner meanie voice. And when a planet goes retrograde, from our perspective, it's actually moving closer to Earth. And so its impact is felt a little bit more keenly. So you might find yourself worrying, anxious, a lot of bad talk going on, and a lot of criticism flying about. Forewarned, it's forearmed. You can be aware of that, and then you can kind of sit back and look at that and let go of some of that stinking thinking, ask if it's true, all that kind of thing. So let's move on to the cards. All righty. It's good that it's a quick week, because we go to Bonneville, Salt Flats every year to see Speed Week, where all these cars do see who can go fastest on the salt. I'm not really into it, but I go because it's a trip out with my husband, and it's an enjoyable trip. And we go and have lunch at a wonderful little Mexican place every year when we do it. So that's my treat for going. So here are the cards I pulled already. I got the Tower reversed. Now, this is Mars card. This is, and the moon does aspect Mars just before tonight's full moon, or tomorrow morning's full moon. And this is also, though, the number is 16/7, which is actually a number of reflection. The Tower always, it can mean utter downfall, usually when it's upright, but it doesn't always mean utter downfall. It means, downfall or taking things apart so that they can be reconstructed. But this is reversed, and this means resistance to change, and it is a fixed new moon. And we are heading towards a fixed grand cross on the full moon. I did the video for that already. Fixed signs are quite resistant to change, or they can be. So this is really a caution to not be resistant to change. But other things that it means are shaking the table. So, you know, more kind of shake-ups out there and ongoing chaos, which I think we've kind of seen anyway. But it can also mean avoiding disaster and you know, by kind of being prepared to kind of stick into what your heart wants, but then not being resistant to other changes out there. So all these cards have complex meanings, but to me, it's just a little bit cautious of a caution about being overly resistant to the major changes that are going on because it's just such a shift. Then we have the middle card, the 10 of Swords. And by the way, I am looking down because I'm reading my interpretations in the Complete Guide to Tarot and Astrology. Did you know I wrote this book, one of my 3 books on Amazon? You could, well, or you can buy them elsewhere, but you know, I'd love it if you would check out my books on Amazon. They're also in my Amazon store. You can find them there. So anyway, we have the 10 of Swords, and this is the Gemini card where Jupiter is and Mars is. And, you know, can't make this up. So, but this is also in the Sun decan, the 10 degrees, or it represents the Sun decan in this sign, in the sign of Gemini. And this is air element. Of course, the swords are all air elements, and this is the number 10, which is completion. Now, this is endings, and it means kind of endings, kind of exhaustion, kind of hard times coming to an end, which is good, but that doesn't mean you're not tired. But it also means, you know, you can feel a little bit like painful endings, but it's also an opportunity. The swords cards are very strange, actually, and it's also about mindset and how you approach things, of course. So this is also an opportunity to find deep healing and hope. Look how she's looking to the horizon, to the future, and perhaps letting go of some of that stinking thinking that I talked about. It's also about resiliency, building resiliency, an opportunity to find hope and to accept change. So it's building on that tower. Okay. All right. So yeah, not an easiest week, but it's got, you know, lots of good potential. And then finally, the card we get at the end is the 5 of Pentacles, again, reversed. And this one is the Taurus card, and it's it represents Mercury as well. So it's kind of Mercury in Taurus. And this is the 5, and the 5 cards are always change. You know, so we're seeing the don't be resistant to change, see the opportunities, find the hope, look the way forward, let go of that stinking thinking, and then we find the actual change coming. And this one really is, you know, this, because it's reversed, this is one of those cards that's actually a little bit better reversed. So this is progress. This is positive change and overcoming hardship. All right. And it's also, you know, a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't like the interpretation of it on the website for this particular deck myself. I always think that this card reverse, because when it's upright, the figure is not seeing the gate, the key, the door, the key, and the abundance there. When it's reversed, it's always reversed at that. So you can see the gratitude, you can see the possibilities, and you can see the key forward, and you can open that door to change and move with the change. So I'm going to go with my own feelings in my own book. This is positive change. This is progress and overcoming and moving beyond hard times. So whilst it's not kind of a light and fluffy week, it really is a week. I'm going to stop my share of kind of leaning into these powerful heart-led intentions that you set on this new moon and leaning into being the change you want to see in the world, which I've always talked about, that we've been working on for some time, but also how we can do this and be meaningful in the world. Okay, so have a great week ahead and harness that Virgo energy to really kind of think about what you can do, go back to politics. Can you do phone banking? Can you write postcards to swing states? Can you door knock? Can you just post on your social media positive intentions for the one that you choose, that you feel should win? Can you stand up for your policies that you believe in? Can you speak out, use your voice, take a stand, all right, and find some meaning and purpose, because it takes a village, which is that also feels very Virgo, and it takes a village. Anyway, well, see you next time, next video. Bye.